They thought the doors were closing on you, but they were closing behind you. They thought they were ending your story, but they were only turning the page. They believed they had the final word, but they forgot there is a higher voice that still speaks. They made a huge mistake, not because they tried to stop you, but because they underestimated the power that moves when you refuse to quit. They laughed when you struggled. They walked away when you were weak. They spoke against you when you least expected. But what they didn't know is that pressure doesn't break purpose. It reveals it. What they didn't understand is that rejection is often redirection in disguise. What they failed to see is that some delays aren't denials. They are divine setups. You didn't lose that job. You were released from small thinking. You didn't lose that relationship. You were rescued from limitation. You didn't miss that opportunity. You were preserved for something greater. They looked at your fall and thought it was over, but they forgot that seeds fall before they rise. They called it your failure. Heaven called it preparation. And the same people who doubted you will one day be confused by what happened next, because what they tried to bury is exactly what grew. Let them talk, let them doubt, let them walk away, because while they are counting your losses, heaven is counting your growth. You are not delayed. You are being developed. You are not denied. You are being directed. You are not forgotten. You are being fashioned for impact. When people step out of your life, it's often because their role in your journey is finished. When doors close, it's often because the room you were in became too small for who you are becoming. They made a huge mistake thinking you were done, but you're just getting started. What hurts you the most is often not the problem itself, it's how unexpected it was. You didn't prepare for them to walk away. You didn't prepare for the silence after loyalty. You didn't prepare for the rejection to come from the very place you invested in the most. And that's why it cut deep. But what you couldn't see in that moment is that what looked like abandonment was actually adjustment. Life was not pushing you backward. It was quietly shifting you forward, even though it felt like you were being torn apart on the inside. When people walk away, it's easy to assume you've done something wrong. You replay conversations, analyze your decisions, and second guess your worth. But sometimes their leaving has nothing to do with your failure and everything to do with your future. Some people are assigned to you for a season, not for your destination. They walk with you through one chapter, but were never meant to read the final page. And if they stayed, they would only slow down what you're called to become. Rejection feels personal, but transformation rarely is. When a door closes that you fought to keep open, it's usually because something on the other side would have shrunk you. What you wanted to keep was too small for who you're becoming. You were trying to hold on to comfort while life was trying to hand you growth. And growth never feels safe when it first shows up. It feels like loss. Look back over your life and you'll notice a pattern. The times you were pushed out were the same times you were pulled up later. That job that ended, it didn't destroy you, it detoxed you. That relationship that fell apart, it didn't damage you, it delivered you. That opportunity you missed, it didn't delay you, it diverted you towards something better suited for the person you were becoming. You think being rejected means you weren't wanted, but sometimes it means you were being protected. You were spared from environments that would have drained your fire, relationships that would have diluted your vision, and roles that would have boxed in your brilliance. Just because something ended doesn't mean it failed. It may have fulfilled its purpose and made room for something greater. What feels like being dismissed often turns out to be being dispatched. You weren't removed, you were reassigned. The place that let you go was not strong enough to hold what you were carrying next. They didn't see your value because your value could no longer fit where you were standing. Rejection becomes redirection when you stop begging doors to open and start walking toward new ones. The moment you stop fighting yesterday is the moment tomorrow starts fighting for you. Every closed door is an invitation to discover a hallway you've never walked down. And while you may not recognize the new room at first, one day you'll realize that it's exactly where you were meant to be all along. The hardest part is trusting that what ended was necessary, not cruel, that what slipped through your fingers was never designed to stay in your hands. And that just because you lost something doesn't mean you lost your future. Sometimes you lose what's familiar so you can find what's favorable. Rejection doesn't reduce you, it redirects you. It clears out the life you thought you wanted in order to create the life you were meant to have. And one day, you'll look back at what broke your heart and thank it for being the reason you finally became whole. Pressure has a way of showing you who you really are, not who you pretend to be when life is easy. Anybody can smile when the road is smooth, but when the weight hits your shoulders and the wind starts pushing against you, that's when the truth comes out. That's when you discover what you're made of, what you truly believe, and how deep your roots really go. Comfort never introduces you to your calling. Discomfort does. It's in the hard seasons that you stop depending on what you have and start depending on what's inside you. When the support disappears, when the bank account looks empty, when the phone stops ringing, something inside you either wakes up or fades away. And if you let it, pressure will awaken a strength you didn't know existed. It forces you to confront fears you've been avoiding and talents you've been neglecting. It stretches you beyond your excuses and into your potential. Pressure exposes what was hidden under ease. It uncovers resilience wrapped inside you like a secret. You don't discover courage on the couch, you discover it in the storm. You don't learn endurance while everything is going your way. You learn it while you're still standing when everything is pushing you down. That's why your struggle isn't random. There is intention in your tension. When life squeezes you, it's not trying to crush you, it's trying to extract something valuable from you. You're like a seed under soil, surrounded by pressure from every side, in the dark, unseen, feeling stuck. But the weight isn't punishment, it's preparation. That pressure pushes roots deeper so growth can go higher. Without it, you'd never break through to the surface. Some of the best qualities inside you would have stayed asleep if life had not shaken you awake. You might have never prayed harder, believed deeper, or fought stronger without difficulty. You might have lived a comfortable life, but never a powerful one, because comfortable people don't change the world. Committed ones do. And commitment is formed in the pressing, not the praising. Pressure cleans you out. It burns away pride, arrogance, and false identity. When you're overwhelmed, you stop pretending. When everything is heavy, you learn to travel light. You discover what matters and what doesn't. You learn who's real and who is just noise. Pressure is a filter. It purifies your priorities. And strangely enough, pressure also shapes your compassion. Once you've hurt, you understand hurting people. Once you've struggled, you notice the weak. Pain softens you in ways success never could. Pressure doesn't just build your strength, it builds your soul. You may feel like life is trying to break you, but it's actually trying to reveal you. The real you doesn't come out in applause, it comes out in adversity. When the lights go off and the audience leaves, who are you then? That is who pressure introduces you to. Everything you go through is training you for something you can't yet see. You don't struggle by accident. Every tear is watering something in your future. Every sleepless night is teaching you stamina. Every disappointment is teaching you depth. The pain is not pointless. One day, you'll be grateful for the struggle you hated. You'll recognize that what tried to wear you out actually shaped you up. What threatened to shrink you enlarged your spirit. And what you thought would finish you refined you. Pressure never destroys purpose, it defines it. Sometimes the most painful thing is not losing people, positions, or places. It's realizing you've outgrown them. Growth does not always announce itself with excitement. Often it arrives with discomfort. You start feeling restless where you used to feel at home. You begin to feel limited in spaces that once felt safe. What once fulfilled you suddenly feels empty, and what you once tolerated becomes unbearable. That's not failure. That's expansion. When you outgrow a place, it doesn't mean the place was wrong. It simply means you have changed, you evolved, your vision deepened, your mindset widened. And environments that do not stretch will eventually suffocate growth. You may remain physically present, but internally you begin shrinking. That's why comfort can quietly become a cage. It feels good at first, but it slowly steals your breath. Staying where you've outgrown teaches you to settle for less than you're capable of. You start lowering your standards to match your surroundings. You silence your dreams to avoid making others uncomfortable. You make peace with limitation because challenging it feels risky. But that quiet obedience to smallness slowly erodes your joy. You become busy but not fulfilled, surrounded but not supported, alive but not inspired. You might wonder why things suddenly fell apart, why relationships change, why doors closed without warning, but perhaps they didn't close to hurt you. Maybe they closed because you no longer fit inside who you used to be. Sometimes life will break what you're refusing to release, not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. When a door shuts that you begged to stay open, it's often because the room behind it could no longer contain your future. When life pushes you out, it's because staying would have required you to shrink. You were not rejected. You were ejected from something too tight for your destiny. What hurts is that you didn't get to leave on your own terms. It feels unfair that you had to be forced out instead of celebrated forward. But growth rarely happens in comfort. And expansion almost always comes disguised as loss. You wouldn't have chosen to go, so life made the decision for you. Leaving the familiar feels like stepping into darkness. You know what you had. You don't know what you're walking toward. And fear always screams louder in that space. It reminds you of the bills, the risks, the unknowns, the disappointments. It convinces you it's safer to stay where you are than to chase what you've never seen. But safety is not the same as fulfillment. If you never outgrow anything, you've stopped growing. And if everything feels too small, maybe that's because you're becoming bigger. Bigger in vision, bigger in courage, bigger in ability, bigger in understanding. You're not uncomfortable because something is wrong. You're uncomfortable because something is ready to change. Outgrowing is not betrayal of your past. It's obedience to your future. Honoring yesterday does not mean living there. Some chapters end not because they are bad, but because they are finished. And refusing to turn the page won't give you another story. The pain of leaving is always less than the pain of staying too long, because staying steals your fire and leaving challenges your fear. One crushes you slowly, the other grows you painfully, but only one leads you somewhere. What feels like being pushed out is often being pulled forward, and one day you'll see that the space you cried over had become too small for the life you were designed to live. Sometimes the very thing that tried to break you is the exact thing that is building you right now. It may not look like construction while you're crying at night or questioning your worth in silence, but every painful experience leaves something behind that strength later stands on. What tried to destroy you didn't succeed. It reshaped you. There are wounds you didn't ask for, battles you didn't choose, and losses you didn't expect. You didn't volunteer for the hardship, but hardship volunteered to train you. You didn't wake up asking for pain, but pain showed up determined to leave you better than it found you. And whether you noticed it or not, something inside you shifted when life hits you the hardest. Pain rearranges you from the inside. It strips away illusions, breaks false confidence, and forces you to confront who you really are. When everything is calm, you can hide behind comfort. But when trouble comes, masks fall off. You stop pretending, you stop running, and the real you finally gets room to stand up. You learn who you are when everything you leaned on is shaken. When support disappears and options fade, your core begins to speak. That's when resilience rises. That's when clarity forms. That's when you stop depending on applause and start depending on conviction. The storm doesn't weaken you. It teaches you how strong you already were. What feels like destruction is often renovation. Old habits have to be torn down. Weak foundations must crack. Wrong ideas about yourself have to collapse before stronger truth can be rebuilt. If it doesn't break you, it reshapes you. And if you let it shape you, it upgrades you. Betrayal forges discernment. Disappointment sharpens wisdom. Delay develops endurance. Loss carves character. Nothing is wasted when you refuse to quit. The enemy thought he was removing your future, but he accidentally revealed your strength. Some of your greatest features were born in your worst moments. You learned how to survive when you thought you wouldn't. You learned how to forgive when you didn't want to. You learned how to stand when you felt weak. Pain taught you lessons. Peace never could. You are not the same person who entered the storm. You're braver now, wiser now, stronger now. You don't beg the way you used to, panic the way you used to, or believe lies the way you used to. You learn the difference between love and attachment, strength and arrogance, faith and fantasy. Even your sensitivity changed. You cry different now. You love different now. You trust different now. Because pain didn't harden you. It refined you. It didn't make you bitter. It made you clearer. And though you wouldn't wish your struggle on anyone, you can't deny the growth it produced. What you thought would ruin you actually rebuilt you. What looked like the end turned out to be the beginning of a stronger version of you. It's strange how life upgrades you through agony. But only fire strengthens steel. Only pressure creates diamonds. Only storms make strong ships. You were not destroyed, you were developed. And one day, you will realize the thing meant to break you built you into something unbreakable. There is a strange moment in life when the very people who laughed at you, doubted you, or counted you out will be forced to pause and wonder how you made it. Not because you announced your comeback, not because you proved your worth out loud, but because your growth will speak in ways your mouth never could. Silence becomes your announcement, and progress becomes your response. At first, they overlook you. You are too quiet, too small, too ordinary. They place limits on your future based on your present and treat your beginnings as if they are your destiny. They label you before you ever introduce yourself, and sometimes you almost believe them. You almost shrink to fit their expectations. You almost accept a version of yourself that was never meant to be final. But what they don't know is that growth happens underground before it ever shows above the surface. While they were watching appearances, you were developing depth. While they focused on your lack, you were building strength. While they talk, you were working. And slow growth is what confuses fast judgment. One day, they'll see you and do a double take. Not because you announced the change, but because the change announces you. Your walk will look different. Your confidence will feel unfamiliar. Your peace will confuse them. They will look for the old version of you, but that person no longer exists. Some will celebrate you. Others will silently resent you. And some will pretend they always believed in you. But deep down, they know they didn't expect this ending for your life. They had a small story written for you, and now you're living a chapter they never saw coming. Your growth will make people uncomfortable, not because you did something wrong, but because you did something different. You refuse to stay where they left you. You refuse to become the version of you that made them comfortable. And that will challenge them more than you realize. Your maturity will expose their immaturity. Your healing will reveal their damage. Your breakthrough will remind them of what they gave up on. And that is why growth isn't just beautiful. It is confronting. You will notice the energy change. Conversations shift. Distance forms. Support becomes selective. Not everyone is happy when you rise, especially those who expected you to remain small. But you must understand something. Their reaction is not your responsibility. Your job is not to manage their comfort. It is to protect your calling. You don't owe anyone an explanation for becoming who you were meant to be. You don't need permission to evolve. You don't need approval to level up. The greatest revenge is not proving people wrong. It's living so well you forget they ever doubted you. And that's the moment you know you've truly grown, when your past no longer has the power to define you and your enemies no longer have the energy to distract you. They'll wonder how you survived what nearly destroyed you. They'll be surprised you didn't break, shocked you didn't quit, confused that you didn't become bitter. They'll look at your resilience and call it luck. But you know the nights you cried, the lessons you learned, and the strength you built when nobody was watching. And when they ask how you did it, your life will answer for you.